Okay, hello again. And this time we will be completing our multi-step equation integers. And we're looking at worksheet level 1 S1, wherein we are combining the two questions that were asked earlier. We're simplifying, and when we simplify, we ask, who's your daddy? Combining like terms and grouping them together to simplify. And then when we're isolating our variable to find its value, we ask the question, whose house? Okay, whose house is it? And then therefore everyone is out the house except for the owner of the house. So let's take a look at number 2. Number 2 reads, 8q plus 6 is equal to 4q minus 14. Now, in order to solve this equation, we must combine like terms. And so we notice here that we have two families here. We have the q family, whose daddy is q, all right, and then we have our whole numbers that do not have a variable attached. So therefore, let's combine our like terms. We combine in this case because we have the equal sign that has put a separation between the two sides. We recognize or we recall that if we move any variable or number from this side, there's a change or an inverse to move it to the opposite side. So therefore, what we want to do in order to work with positive numbers, we're going to move the smaller number or the value here, which is the 4q, to the side of the 8q in order to maintain a positive number. The greater value is in the 8q. So let's do the inverse to combine these like terms. Okay, so here we take the 4q from this side and we move it to this side by taking the inverse of it. That cancels this 4q out, and therefore 8q plus a negative 4q is going to give us a positive 4q. And then we rewrite our problem, bringing down everything that is still remaining in our problem here. Okay, now we note then that the 6 is on the left side of our equal sign. It can be combined with our negative 4 because they can be combined, because when we ask the question, who's your daddy, we recognize that both of them are whole numbers and do not have a variable. Therefore, we're going to move the 6 to the opposite side by taking the inverse. All right, once we do that, we're left with 4q is equal to negative 14 plus a negative 6 is going to give us a negative 20. Okay, once we have established that, then what we would do is ask the question, whose house is it? In this case, it is Q's house. Therefore, we need to take 4 out of Q's house. Question is, what is 4 trying to do? 4 desires to be multiplied by Q. Therefore, we're going to divide it out. The inverse of multiplication is division. And therefore, when we do that, we isolate Q. And Q, in this case, is equal to negative 20 divided by 4 gives us a negative 5. Okay, let's move on. In a case like this, we have a distributive property. Okay, we have 7 minus. Okay, when we see a symbol between the number and the parentheses, it is understood that what is actually here is a 1. Okay, so that's the negative 1 that is on the outside of the parentheses here. So then when we distribute, we're actually distributing we're actually distributing -1, okay, to the 5 and to the 13. So therefore, let's distribute. -1 times 5t is going to be a -5t, and -1 times a -13 is going to be a +13. Okay? Equals to -25. And let's not forget our 7 here. Okay? So now, let's move on. Let's combine our like terms. In this case, our like terms, we have a 7 here. We have a 13 here. Therefore, a -5t +20 is equal to -25. All right? Then if we were to continue to simplify, then we could move the +20 out from the left side over to the right side by taking the inverse here, -20, -20, and then therefore we're left with -5t is equal to 45, in this case -45, and therefore we isolate t because it is t's house by dividing both sides by -5, -5, and then t is equal to a +9. And so therefore that would be the answer for number 4. Let's take a look at the answer for number 6. At number 6 we have 14 plus 13y is equal to 20y minus 21. There's no one that can be combined here that has the same daddy. No one here can be combined here that has the same daddy. But they have a sibling on the other side of the equal sign. So let's move our variables or our numbers around so therefore that we can combine our like terms. So remember, we try to move the smaller value if the larger value is positive. So therefore, here, let's move the 13y by taking the inverse, all right? And therefore, we have 14